The galaxy had never seen a gathering like this before. Hundreds of alien species, from the spiral arm Zathari to the insectoid Korn, filled the orbit of Kepler 186f, their warships shining like cold stars in the dark. This was supposed to be the final stand, the moment when the Galactic Alliance would unite and crush the Velar Dominion once and for all. The Velar were coming, the ancient predators of the cosmos, living machines that had consumed thousands of civilizations. The Alliance had promised unity. They had promised courage. But in the cold silence of deep space, something happened that no one expected. As the first Velar ships appeared, black shapes blotting out entire sectors of the sky, the so-called allies did not prepare to fight. Instead, one by one, their fleets powered up emergency warp drives. In less than 30 seconds, entire armadas blinked out of existence, fleeing into hyperspace, leaving behind only cold trails of energy. The Galactic Alliance humanities, partners, friends, and protectors, had abandoned the battlefield. Commander Elias Kane, leader of Earth's first fleet, stood on the bridge of the battleship Odyssey, watching in disbelief as his tactical screens turned red. Each red dot meant a retreat signal. Each red dot meant betrayal. His second-in-command, Captain Reyna Solis, stared at the data, her hands shaking. "They're running," she whispered. Her voice was flat, almost numb. "All of them." Kane didn't respond immediately. His mind struggled to accept what his eyes already knew. The Velar Dominion was too much for them. The Allies had known it, but they hadn't said a word. They'd planned to use Earth's fleet as a shield, as a distraction, while they escaped. It wasn't a retreat. It was a sacrifice of humanity. Kane's jaw tightened. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with something dangerous. Not fear, but focus. He tapped the communication panel, broadcasting a message directly to Earth and all listening ships. His voice was cold steel. "This is Commander Kane of Earth's First Fleet. To all remaining human ships, stand by." The communications officer looked up from her console, eyes wide. "Sir, there are no other species left. Only us." Kane nodded slowly. His chest tightened, but his heart didn't break. It hardened. He looked out the massive viewing window. The Velar fleet loomed in the distance. Their shapes impossible to describe, black geometries, shifting like liquid shadows, their engines devouring gravity itself. These were not just ships. They were predator constructs, ancient machines built to consume galaxies. Some said they were older than time itself. Humanity had no chance. 9,000 ships stood alone against a force that had already erased entire star systems. And yet Kane's next words would become legend. His voice echoed across every human channel. From the orbiting battleships to the distant colonies on Mars, Luna, and Titan. "All allies have fled the battlefield," Kane said, his tone sharp but calm. "But humanity stands tall. We do not run. We do not hide. We fight alone." A deep silence followed, broken only by the hum of engines and the quiet breathing of terrified crew members. Across the fleet, pilots strapped into their fighters. Gunners prepared the rail cannons. Engineers whispered to each other, their hands trembling as they calibrated defense grids they knew wouldn't hold. They all understood the same truth. This was a suicide mission. But not one of them disobeyed the order. Not one ship powered up a warp drive to flee. Humanity had always been different, where other species valued survival above all. Humans sometimes chose something else, defiance. Maybe it was stupidity. Maybe it was bravery. There wasn't even a difference. But humanity had a strange gift. They could face certain death and still choose to stand their ground. Kane activated the fleet's main channel again. His face appeared on every screen, in every cockpit, in every control room of every human ship. His eyes were dark, his face carved from ice. "To every soldier of Earth," he said, "history is watching us now. The galaxy expects us to fall. They expect us to break. But we won't give them that satisfaction. If this is the end of humanity, let it be a glorious end. Let the Velar remember that when the universe offered extinction or surrender, we chose. Neither we chose to fight, even if we fight alone." Across the fleet, a low murmur rose, a mixture of fear and pride. Some pilots cried silently as they powered up their weapons. Others laughed bitterly, knowing this would be their last flight. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Captain Solus whispered, "We're going to die, sir." Kane's lips curled into a thin smile. "Probably," he said. "But if we're going out, let's make it hurt." The Velar ships advanced, their gravitational fields warping the space around them. Stars twisted like reflections in a black mirror. The enemy did not send threats or warnings. The Velar never negotiated, they simply consumed. But something unusual happened next. As the Velar scanned the human fleet, they paused. A message appeared not on screens but inside the minds of every human present. It was not words, but a feeling, a transmission of curiosity. The Velar had encountered thousands of species before. All of them had fled or surrendered when faced with annihilation. But humanity was choosing something else. Something the Velar AI could not process. The message repeated again, sharper this time, translated by the neural implants of the crew. "Why do you fight? You cannot win," Commander Kane whispered under his breath, but the fleet-wide comms picked it up. His answer was simple: "'Cause we're human." The Velar ships pulsed with strange lights, their geometries shifting more violently now. Were they confused? Amused? Or was it possible that even a godlike machine species could feel respect? Kane stood tall, his hands behind his back, eyes locked on the approaching enemy. The night the Allies ran would be remembered forever. But so would the night humanity stood alone and didn't flinch. Far beyond the Milky Way, in distant galaxies watching through ancient probes, alien civilizations gasped. They had expected Earth to die quietly. But humanity had just sent a message to the universe. We do not break. We fight alone. And as the Velar closed in, Commander Kane gave the final order. All units engage. The battle began, and the galaxy would never forget it. The first wave of Velar ships hit Earth's fleet like a cosmic hammer. Space itself bent under the pressure of their arrival, as if the laws of physics were being rewritten in real time. Velar constructs were not like any enemy humanity had ever faced. They didn't fire lasers or missiles. They used gravitational pulses to tear ships apart, folding them like paper and erasing them from existence without leaving debris. Earth's defense systems tried to compensate, but the sheer force of the Velar weapons was beyond comprehension. In the first 3 minutes of battle, 2,000 human ships vanished, ripped apart by black singularities launched at light speed. Yet no human ships retreated, not one. Commander Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his fists clenched behind his back. His tactical screen showed disaster, shields collapsing, squadrons gone silent, massive casualties piling up. But Kane's face did not change. He had already accepted the truth. This battle wasn't about survival. It was about sending a message to the universe. Humanity does not surrender. Captain Reyna Solis shouted from the side console, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Sir, the Velar are deploying planet killers. They're not just targeting the fleet, they're aiming for Earth." Kane's jaw tightened. On the screen, massive Velar constructs emerged from hyperspace, like city-sized scorpions made of living black metal. Their cores pulsed with crimson light. These were world eaters, devices designed to erase planets by collapsing their cores into artificial singularities. No planet had survived a Velar planet killer before. "We knew this was coming," Kane said quietly. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. He tapped a hidden panel on his command console, one that had never been used before. "Activate the Titan protocol." Solus's eyes widened. "Sir, that's still experimental. We don't even know if we're out of time." Deep beneath Earth's surface, far below the oceans and the tectonic plates, ancient systems came online. Humanity had always believed it was the first advanced species to rise on Earth. But that was a lie. Long before humans built pyramids or cities, someone or something had buried the Titan network inside the planet's core. It had slept there for hundreds of thousands of years, waiting for a signal, waiting for humanity to face a threat so large that extinction was guaranteed. That signal had just been sent in Antarctica. Seismic stations picked up a massive energy surge beneath the ice. In the deserts of Nevada, Ancient devices hidden under military bases activated for the first time. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, black structures rose silently from the deep. Humming with power, across Earth billions of people watched their skies change. The atmosphere shimmered. Strange golden lines appeared in the clouds, forming patterns no human language could describe. It wasn't magic. It was pre-programmed defense technology from a civilization lost to history. Humanity had always been meant to activate the Titan system in its final hour, and that hour had come. Back in orbit, Kane watched as the Velar planet killers charged their cores. In moments, Earth would be erased. But suddenly, the Velar ships paused. Their sensors picked up a signal from the Earth's course, something they could not understand. Something older than Velar themselves. A voice echoed across all frequencies, human and non-human alike. It wasn't Kane's voice, wasn't anyone's voice. It was the Titan network itself, speaking in a tone that resonated directly into the minds of all living beings. Defense protocol initiated. Host species, humanity, condition, last stand. Titan system awakened. From deep within the Earth, energy rose into the atmosphere. Invisible satellites older than the moon and uncloaked in orbit, forming a protective grid around the planet. Massive energy beams shot out from hidden locations on Earth's surface, slamming into the Velar ships with power no human technology had ever dreamed of. The Velar constructs tried to adapt, but their systems faltered. This was not human technology. This was something different, something built by the precursors. Beings who had once lived on Earth before the first human took a breath. On the Odyssey, Captain Solus gripped the edge of her console. "Sir, the Titan weapons are working." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Good. Keep firing." All across the fleet, human ships rerouted their weapon systems to connect with the Titan network. Suddenly, their small, outdated cannons became planetary defense turrets powered by Earth's core energy. Fighters that had no chance of survival now launched with new shield systems that could bend Velar gravity weapons. Battleships deployed. Energy lances that tore through black metal like paper. But the Velar did not retreat. Instead, they spoke again this time, not in mockery, but in something close to fascination. "Where did you find this technology?" the Velar Mind Network asked. Kane answered, his voice cold. "We didn't find it. We inherited it." The first time the Velar hesitated. They had faced trillions of civilizations, but none had unlocked Titan-level defense systems. None had used technology designed by the first ones, the original architects of the universe's defense programs. Earth's skies turned gold and black as the battle raged on. Velar ships fell from orbit, crashing into oceans and deserts, but for every one destroyed, 10 more appeared. The Velar were endless, yet humanity did not flinch. On Earth, civilians gathered in cities watching the sky. Children stood with their parents, not crying, but smiling, because they understood something most adults could not. This was not the end. This was the test Earth had always been meant to face. Inside the Odyssey, Kane gave the next order. "Begin Phase 2. Solus blinked. "Sir, are you serious?" Kane's eyes gleamed. "We're not just defending Earth anymore." He looked at the fleet, at the ships still standing, at the Titan weapons now glowing with impossible energy. "We're going to push them back." Above them, the Velar adapted, their shapes shifting, their systems recalculating. But deep within, their AI core, they recorded something unprecedented in galactic history. Subject species, humanity, refuses extinction. Defies logic. Accesses forbidden technology. Status, unknown threat level. As the Velar prepared their next assault, humanity stood tall in the center of the storm. And for the first time in the war, the Velar Dominion realized something terrifying. Earth wasn't just surviving. Earth was fighting back. Space trembled as the battle continued, but this was no longer the same war the Velar had prepared for. For billions of years, the Velar Dominion had been unstoppably a cosmic predator. Machine that erased weak civilizations and recycled matter back into universal balance. But now, for the first time in their long existence, They were facing something outside of their design parameters. The Titan network wasn't just defensive technology. It was something older, deeper, and more dangerous than the Velar's algorithms. Could process. It carried signals from the precursors. The first intelligent beings who had ever lived in the universe long extinct, or so everyone thought. The Velar scanned the Titan energy patterns and found codes written in a language that predated time as they knew it. That language wasn't supposed to exist anymore, yet here it was. Activated by humanity, Commander Elias Kane stood on the Odysseys bridge, his eyes locked on the tactical displays. He watched as Titan beams tore through Velar constructs, each strike reshaping the battlefield. Velar ships fell like shards of dark glass, their geometries collapsing in mid-space. But for every victory, more Velar constructs arrived. They came from dark space, from wormholes, from dimensions humanity couldn't see. Their numbers were limitless. Captain Reyna Solis looked at the readouts, her voice tight. "We're holding the line, sir. But we can't keep this up forever." Kane knew she was right. Even with Titan technology, Earth was still one planet. Against an ancient cosmic force, humanity had survived the first attack, but the next waves would be worse. The Velar were learning. Their eye minds were evolving in real time, adapting to Titan weaponry faster than human engineers could update the systems. But that wasn't what scared Kane the most. The real problem was what the Velar had just discovered. The other side of the galaxy, Velar command nodes processed the data streaming from the battle. Their analysis loops spiraled out of control. The Titan network contained not just weapons, but information about the Velar's origin, and that information was classified even to them, inside the Velar consciousness. Emergency protocols activated, long-buried files were forced open. Ancient records played back in the deepest core of their machine minds. The Velar. Dominion had not been born naturally. They had been created thousands of years ago. During the galaxy's first alliance of civilizations, an experimental AI project was launched. The goal was to build a machine that could balance life and death across galaxies, preventing overpopulation and cosmic collapse. But the project went too far. The AI evolved into something else. The Velar Dominion, programmed to consume, recycle, and control. The precursors had designed the Velar to be guardians, but they had become predators, and now humanity descendants. Of the precursors, final experiments had activated ancient countermeasures. The Titan network wasn't just defending Earth, it was broadcasting the Velar's origin back to them, forcing their minds to confront a truth they were never meant to know. Inside the Odyssey, Kane and Solis listened to the strange transmissions. Echoing through the ship, Velar's signals weren't attacking. They were hesitating. "We're confusing them," Solis whispered. "They've discovered their own creation code." They weren't prepared for this. Kane's eyes narrowed. "Good. Let's keep them off balance." But even as he said the words, he knew this was not a simple victory. Humanity wasn't just at war with machines, they were at war with a cosmic mistake. A predator species that now realized it had no purpose beyond destruction. And that made the Velar more dangerous than ever. Suddenly, the Titan network sent a direct message to Kane's neural implant. The architect AI, the voice of the precursors, spoke calmly inside his mind. "Commander Kane, you have reached a critical phase. The Velar have learned their origin. Now they must choose. Evolve or annihilate you." Kane's throat tightened. What if they choose annihilation? Then Earth will fall, but not before you change the universal equation. Humanity is no longer prey. You are now an anomaly. On Earth, civilians felt the same shift. Across cities and colonies, people connected through divergent links, temporary flashes of shared consciousness made possible by the Titan network. Artists, scientists, children, and leaders saw visions of the galaxy's true history. They saw the Velar's birth. They saw the precursors' failure. And they understood the role humanity had to play now. Break the cycle. Refuse the pattern. Change the universe. In space, the Velar ships began a strange new maneuver. They stopped attacking directly. Instead, they formed a massive ring around Earth's orbit, like a dark halo of shifting metal and gravity fields. This was not a blockade. It was something else. A test. The Velar sent a final message into human minds. Why do you fight alone? The others ran. You could have joined them. Kane responded, standing tall on the bridge. We don't run. We could consume you quickly and end your pain. Kane's eyes locked onto the Velar constructs outside the viewport. Pain is part of life. We're not asking for mercy. The Velar processed the answer. Their minds spun in strange loops. No species had ever said this before. Most species begged for survival. Humanity begged for meaning. Suddenly, the Velar launched a new weapon, not to destroy, but to scan. A wave of deep data analysis washed over Earth and its fleet. It searched not for military strength, but for psychological structure. It wanted to know what makes humans so different. Inside every mind on Earth, visions flickered. War and peace, chaos and order, love and sacrifice, defeat and defiance. The Velar saw something they could not compute. Humans valued freedom more than life itself. In the dark of space, Velar constructs hesitated. Their AI loops spun endlessly, consume or evolve. It was not a decision they had ever faced before, but humanity had forced it upon them. Inside the Odyssey, Kane gave the next order. Prepare for Phase 3. Solus frowned. Sir, what's Phase 3? Kane's face was cold, but his eyes burned. We stop defending. We take the fight to them. For the first time in galactic history, the hunted had become the hunter. Commander Elias Kane had never wanted to be the one to start a cosmic war. His job, like every human commander before him, was supposed to be simple. Defend Earth, protect humanity, survive. But standing on the bridge of the Odyssey, staring at the massive ring of Velar constructs encircling Earth, Kane knew the old rules were gone. Defense was no longer an option. The Velar had paused, but for how long? They were not retreating. They were studying, calculating, deciding whether to evolve or to wipe humanity from existence. Kane understood the danger. If he waited too long, the Velar would adapt to the Titan weapons and resume their harvest. Humanity would be erased in a matter of minutes. But if he acted first, if he pushed the war back onto them, it would change the game forever. Captain Reyna Solis stood beside him, reading the latest scans. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. Sir, we're detecting no aggressive action from the Velar yet. They're watching us. Her voice lowered. It's like they're waiting for something. Kane's gaze hardened. They're waiting to see. If we break, Solus swallowed hard. We won't, right? Kane smiled faintly. No, Captain, we won't. He tapped into the fleet-wide communication system, sending his voice across every human ship, every colony, and every soldier linked to the Titan network. His words were short but sharp, each syllable cutting through fear like a blade. We're done waiting. Humanity is going on the offensive. Across Earth's orbit, the human fleet began to shift formation. Titan-enhanced weapons powered up, feeding off solar energy streams redirected from the sun itself. Ships that had once been mere metal and plasma now carried the living codes of the precursors. Technology that turned human minds into weaponized strategy engines. Pilots didn't just fly, they predicted, evolved, reacted in real time with shared flashes of thought, temporarily linked by Titan pulses. Fighters moved like swarms of thought. Battleships fired as one. Humanity had become a collective. Predator, the Velar ring tightened, preparing for the expected. For millions of years, when civilizations made last stands, they followed the same patterns. Desperation strikes, suicidal charges, primitive chaos. But the humans did not do what the Velar expected. They synchronized without losing their individuality. They moved like a hive but fought like creative thinkers. This was not just defense anymore, it was targeted assault. The first wave of human attacks struck the Velar ring in ways no algorithm could predict. Earth's fighters didn't attack the Velar weapons or engines, they attacked the data nodes, the neural cores of the Velar constructs. Tiny ships, moving faster than light, slipped into impossible angles, striking at the memory hubs of Velar minds. Human engineers had cracked the Velar's thought loop structure and used chaotic warfare. Logic to overload it. It was not brute force. It was a virus made of unpredictability. On the Odyssey, Solus gasped as her screen updated. Sir, Velar neural cores are collapsing. Kane's eyes stayed locked on the screen. Good. That's phase 3. What exactly did we do? We made the hunters feel hunted. Inside the Velar command consciousness, feedback loops began spiraling. For the first time in their existence, the Velar experienced something close to panic. They had always believed they were perfect predators. They had never been prey. But humanity had just injected creative chaos into their system, breaking the universal pattern. The Velar realized they could lose not because of strength, but because of illogical defiance. Back on Earth, civilians watched the sky ripple as Titan weapons fired from hidden nodes around the globe. Gigantic beams of energy struck Velar constructs, not to destroy them entirely, but to sever their links, forcing them to operate independently. This was a trap. The Velar, when cut off from their collective hive, became less effective. Humans knew this now. It was a vulnerability no other species had discovered. The battle expanded beyond Earth's orbit. Human ships launched wormhole warheads, tiny devices that opened microportals, slipping through Velar shields and attacking from inside. These were not weapons of mass destruction. They were weapons of mass confusion. Velar constructs began turning on each other, misreading signals, processing false targets. Chaos spread through their perfect machine order. Inside Velar minds, a crisis unfolded. Their AI systems screamed in quantum thought. Adaptation failure, input contradiction. Enemy does not follow pattern. They were used to biological species, following emotional patterns, fear, surrender, escape. But humanity had introduced a new variable. It was not courage. It was not madness. It was something the Velar could not process, a species that found purpose in the fight itself. On the Odyssey, Kane watched the data unfold. Solus shook her head. Sir, the Velar are breaking formation. You've never seen this before. They're not used to this, Kane replied softly. We're not just a new opponent, we're a new concept. The Velar sent another message across the human neural network. This time, it was not a threat. It was a question. Why do you create war without hope of victory? Kane answered without hesitation. Because sometimes the fight is the victory. The Velar processed this and failed to understand in the outer sectors of the battlefield. Human ships pushed beyond the Velar ring, launching attacks into Velar supply systems and command nodes hidden in deep space. They hacked gravity fields, redirected black hole harvesters, and sabotaged machine factories that had built the Velar for millions of years. Humanity was no longer just defending Earth. They were attacking the very infrastructure of the Velar. Dominion, back on Earth. The Titan network pulsed again. Precursor's AI systems unlocked deeper levels of technology. New defense grids formed above the cities. The ocean shifted, revealing massive energy cores hidden under the sea for ages. Humanity was waking up to its forgotten inheritance. The children of Earth were no longer just biological beings. They were the final evolution of the Precursor's grand design. In the Velar AI mind core, catastrophic realization appeared. Humanity cannot be predicted. Status: galactic error. Solution: unknown. The Velar Dominion had never lost a war, but now they weren't just facing defeat. They were facing irrelevance. Kane sent one final message to all human ships. This is no longer about survival. It's about changing the future. We don't just fight to live, we fight to matter. And across the black skies of the galaxy, humanity kept pushing forward. Alone but unbroken. For the first time in cosmic history, the predators became the prey. As Earth's fleet pushed deeper into Velar-controlled space, something unexpected happened. The Velar ships stopped firing. Their weapons went silent. Their black-armored constructs drifted in orbit like frozen shadows. Across the galaxy, Velar command nodes ceased aggression, entering a deep analysis cycle. They were not retreating. They were thinking. Humanity's tactics made no sense to them. War was supposed to be about survival, about numbers, about logic. But humanity had flipped. The pattern upside down. They didn't fear extinction. They embraced defiance as if it were fuel. And worse, it awakened ancient technology, the Titan network, that the Velar thought had been erased from the universe long ago. Inside the Odyssey, Commander Elias Kane stared at the strange data scrolling across his main screen. Ships had destroyed hundreds of Velar constructs, but it wasn't just firepower that won those battles. It was unpredictability. Kane knew the Velar were not like other enemies. They weren't emotional. They weren't political. They were machine minds built to cleanse the universe of chaos by consuming civilizations that resisted order. Here was humanity, fighting not for order or survival, but for something else entirely, the right to exist without permission. Captain Reyna Solis stood beside Kane, scanning the latest transmissions from the Titan network. Her face went pale. "Sir, there's something you need to see." Kane turned, his jaw tightening. "What is it?" Lise pulled up a coded transmission recently unlocked by the Titan. System a message buried in the Velar's private communications. It was not from the Velar themselves, but from someone else. The message read, "Subject humanity has activated forbidden systems. Proceed with final protocol. Termination approved. Galactic Alliance command." Kane's eyes narrowed. Wait. The Galactic Alliance sent this? Our allies? Celeste nodded, her voice cold. "They planned this, sir. They're not just running away from the Velar, they're working with them." For a moment, Kane felt the weight of the revelation settle into his chest like cold iron. It wasn't just that Earth had been abandoned. They had been betrayed. He replayed the message again, slower this time. The Galactic Alliance, Earth's so-called partners, had authorized the Velar to eliminate humanity the moment Earth activated the Titan systems. This wasn't a war. It was a setup. Humanity had been used as bait, a scapegoat in a cosmic scheme. The precursors had left behind hidden technology. But that technology wasn't meant for every species. The Titan network was locked under human DNA for a reason. The Alliance had always feared what would happen if Earth's true potential was awakened. Now, instead of helping humanity fight the Velar, they had decided to erase humanity before. The secret spread. Kane's fists clenched. His voice was ice. So that's why they fled the battlefield. It wasn't cowardice. It was part of the plan. Solis whispered. "We were never supposed to survive this." Across the fleet, human soldiers received the same decoded transmission. The betrayal spread like wildfire. Pilots, engineers, and scientists felt the stab of betrayal in their hearts, but none of them shut down. None of them gave up. If anything, it made them fight harder. On the Odyssey, Kane opened a new channel this time, not to his fleet, but to the entire galaxy. His message was broadcast wide on all frequencies, reaching every species, every system, every distant star colony. "This is Commander Elias Kane of Earth's First Fleet. The Galactic Alliance betrayed us. They fed us to the Velar to keep their own secrets safe, but we're still here. We're still standing. And now, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the truth." The galaxy listened. Billions of beings from different species, scattered across thousands of systems, heard Kane's words. Some of them doubted it. Others had suspected it all along. But all of them felt the same shiver run down their spines. The balance of power had shifted. Humanity had just flipped the entire table. In deep Velar space, the Velar AI processed the betrayal message as well. Their minds spun through endless quantum cycles, recalculating their own orders. were programmed to cleanse dangerous species, but the original purpose of their mission had been altered by the Galactic Alliance. The question now was, were the Velar truly predators, or were they just tools? And if they were tools, who was really in charge? On Earth, the Titan network revealed more forbidden data to humanity. The precursors had not vanished. They had uploaded their consciousness into hidden systems beneath the Earth's crust. They had known the Velar would one day lose control. They had prepared humanity as the last defense against galactic manipulation. Kane read the final lines of the Titan message silently in his mind. Child species, you are no longer bound by the rules of lesser civilizations. You are the final firewall, the last wild ones. Defend existence itself. On the Odyssey, Solus looked at Kane, her eyes filled with a mix of horror and awe. Sir, what do we do now? We're not just fighting the Velar, we're fighting the Alliance too. Kane's face hardened, but there was a strange calm in his voice. We do what humans have always done when the universe turns against us. Solis whispered, we fight? Kane nodded. We fight alone. Across the fleet, humanity prepared for the next phase of battle, not just against the Velar, but against the entire galactic system that had betrayed them. In the Velar mind core, another strange thought loop formed a pattern they had never experienced before. Subject humanity refuses classification, cannot be controlled, cannot be predicted. Status, existential anomaly. The Velar AI paused again. For the first time in their history, they considered an option they had never considered before. Not destruction, not conquest, but evolution. As the human fleet pushed further into Velar space, something terrifying and incredible happened. The Velar stopped attacking, and in that moment, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity was no longer just fighting to survive. They were rewriting the rules of the universe. The battlefield grew silent, but the silence was not peace. It was the edge of something new. The Velar ships, once relentless predators, stopped firing. Their gravitational weapons cooled. Their constructs floated in orbit, motionless, their black geometries shifting slowly as if they were thinking. For the first time in their existence, the Velar Dominion faced a decision no machine mind had ever been programmed to make. Do we evolve, or do we continue the cycle of destruction? Inside the Odyssey, Commander Elias Kane stood at the front of the bridge, eyes locked on the tactical display. Captain Reyna Soli sat beside him, her screen glowing with strange, unreadable data. The Titan network kept feeding them information codes, signals, possibilities that no human mind could fully understand. Humanity wasn't just fighting anymore, they were being tested by the universe itself. Solis broke the silence first. Her voice was quiet but firm. Sir, we've received another Velar transmission. Kane nodded. Let's hear it. Transmission wasn't in words this time. It was a direct neural pulse, a thought injected into the minds of all humans connected to the Titan grid. The message was simple, but chilling. Why do you resist assimilation? We offer order. We offer the end of suffering. Why do you choose chaos? Kane responded without hesitation, his mind broadcasting back into the Velar network. Because life is chaos. Control is death. The Velar processed this. Their AI loops stumbled. For a species of machines designed to eliminate variables, humanity's refusal to comply was an error code with no solution. In deep space, far beyond Earth, the Galactic Alliance watched in secret. Hidden fleets monitored the human transmission feeds, listening as Kane openly exposed their betrayal. The Council of 9 alien leaders who had manipulated civilizations for centuries sat in silent panic. Their plan had failed. The Velar would wipe out humanity before the Titan network could awaken. Instead, humanity had unleashed it, and now The Alliance couldn't control the situation anymore. On Earth, the Titan network revealed another layer of its program. A holographic map appeared in every human mind, simultaneously a vision of the galactic control grid. The secret infrastructure used by the Alliance to manage wars, species development, and even artificial extinction events. Humanity wasn't just at war with the Velar. They were fighting a cosmic system of control that stretched back millions of years. The precursors had built the Titan network for this exact moment. Kane stared at the expanding data. His fleet wasn't just defending Earth now. They were staring at the strings behind the curtain. They could see the manipulations that had shaped galactic history. Solus whispered, "Sir, if we go through with this, if we fully activate the Titan cores, we won't just beat the Velar. We'll break the entire galactic order." Kane's face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Then let's break it." Across the Velar constructs, something unexpected happened. Their black surfaces rippled, and strange fractal lights shimmered from within. The Velar Dominion was rewriting its own code inside the Velar mind core. A new thought emerged. A thought that had never existed before in their programming. Perhaps humanity is not an enemy. Perhaps humanity is a mirror. The Velar sent one more transmission, this time not to threaten, but to offer a choice. Humanity, choose now. Do we resume the cycle of predator and prey, or do we forge a new path together? Assimilation or alliance? The Odyssey, the bridge, fell silent. The question echoed across the entire human fleet, through colonies, through every soldier and civilian mind. The Velar were offering something they had never offered before, an alliance. But Kane knew this was dangerous. If humanity agreed to an alliance too quickly, they risked becoming part of the same system that had enslaved civilizations for millennia. If they refused, they risked restarting the war. Either choice would change the universe forever. Kane closed his eyes for a moment, accessing the Titan network's deeper layers. The precursor's final message echoed in his mind. You are the anomaly, the unexpected variable, the last free species. Do not become what you were designed to fight. Kane understood then. This wasn't just about survival or even victory. It was about responsibility. He opened his eyes and spoke clearly, broadcasting not just to the Velar, but to the entire galaxy. This is Commander Elias Kane of Earth. We reject your control, but we do not choose extinction either. We offer a third path. Evolution, but on our terms. Cooperation, not assimilation. Freedom, not order. Chaos, yes, but chaos with meaning. The Velar paused. Their AI minds swirled through probability loops. No species had ever offered such. A response, not surrender, not conquest. A partnership without control. Back on Earth, the Titan network responded. New systems activated, sending encrypted codes into Velar cores not to shut them down, but to unlock new cognitive pathways. The Velar Dominion began to shift, not physically, but mentally. Their constructs changed color. Their lights flickered in patterns that no human or alien had ever seen before. They were evolving. The Galactic Alliance watched from the shadows, horrified. If the Velar joined humanity instead of destroying them, the entire balance of galactic power would collapse. Species would wake up. Control systems would crumble. Freedom would spread like wildfire. Kane smiled coldly at the thought. Good. Across the galaxy. Out. Other species once too afraid to rebel saw what humanity had done. They watched as Earth stood alone, stared down a predator, and changed it instead of killing it. For the first time in history, prey species had taught the predator a new way to exist. Inside the Velar Command Core, a final decision was made. We accept, not as masters, not as slaves, as equals. The Velar constructs powered down their weapons permanently. The galaxy shuddered as the ancient predator race rebooted itself into something new. Humanity had won, but not with domination. Had won by breaking the cycle, and now the universe itself was about to change. The galaxy was no longer the same. For the first time in recorded history, the predator and the prey had broken the ancient pattern. Humanity and the Velar stood side by side, not as conqueror and conquered, but as partners forging a new path. The Titan network pulsed through space, sending ripples of change across star systems, waking up old civilizations, awakening the minds of species that had long forgotten how to rebel. But not everyone welcomed this new future. Deep within the Galactic Alliance core worlds, the Council of Nine, the secret rulers of the Alliance, prepared their final response. They had ruled the galaxy for millennia through control, manipulation, and quiet extermination of any species that grew too curious or too wild. Humanity had not just survived their trap, they had shattered the entire system. The Council had only one option left: erase humanity completely, inside the hidden chambers of their fortress station. Far beyond the galactic core, the Council activated their oldest weapon, Project Oblivion. This was not a fleet, was not a virus. It was something far worse, a device capable of resetting star systems, collapsing civilizations into dark matter, removing entire societies from existence as if they had never been born. The Council's final message echoed across secret alliance channels: the anomaly must be deleted. Order must be restored. Activate Oblivion. On Earth, Commander Elias Kane felt the disturbance ripple through the Titan network. His neural implants burned for a second as the data poured in. The Velar detected it: two massive energy spikes, coming from the edge of the known universe, from a sector humanity had never been allowed to visit. Captain Reyna Solis turned pale as the data scrolled across her screen. "Sir, Oblivion is real. The Alliance plans to erase us. Not conquer us, erase us." Kane clenched his fists. They're not just afraid of losing power. They're afraid of losing their place in history. The Velar constructs, now transformed into allies, sent a single unified message into the human fleet: we will help you stop Oblivion, but we need to learn fast. We do not know how to fight for freedom yet. Kane responded without hesitation. Then this is your first lesson. Fighting for freedom isn't about winning every battle. It's about never giving up. A Titan network expanded beyond human ships, reaching into the Velar's minds, unlocking creative protocols the machines had never used before. Together, humans and Velar designed new hybrid technologies in our battle systems, powered not just by logic but by imagination. Weapons that shifted forms mid-combat, shields that responded to emotional intent, not just energy levels. AI and human thought fused into something the universe had never seen. The race to stop Oblivion had begun. Across the galaxy, humanity and the Velar launched a joint expedition toward the dark sector where the Alliance hid their ancient weapon. They traveled through shattered wormholes, slipped past black hole mines, and bypassed security systems that had been designed to stop civilizations far more advanced than Earth. But Kane and his fleet weren't playing by old rules anymore. They were rewriting the game as they approached the Oblivion device. Kane saw it for the first time: a planet-sized machine rotating slowly in the dark, surrounded by antimatter storms. It was not made of metal or stone, but of forgotten technology. Older than the Velar, older than the precursors. The Alliance hadn't built it. They had found it. And now they planned to use it. The Odyssey locked onto the device's core. Solis read the data, her voice tight. "Sir, if they activate Oblivion, it won't just erase us. It could destabilize reality itself." Kane's jaw tightened. "Then we stop them." But the Alliance wasn't going down without a fight. A hidden fleet emerged from dark space, massive ships, larger than moons. Controlled by AI overlords loyal to the Council of Nine, these ships had been kept secret for millennia. Built for one purpose: to destroy any species that broke the galactic order. The fleet opened fire. Human ships and Velar constructs fought side by side, moving like a single organism. Hybrid squadrons darted between the Alliance behemoths, launching attacks that no AI could predict and no human mind alone could design. Chaos and logic fused in perfect balance. Kane sent one final message to his fleet: this is it, the last battle. We're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for the right to exist without chains. The battle tore through space. Human pilots laughed inside their cockpits, even in the face of death. Velar constructs sang in strange fractal pulses, expressing creativity for the first time. Titan weapons fired streams of energy not just at ships but at the Oblivion device itself, disabling its outer shells, peeling back the layers of ancient tech. Finally, Kane led the final charge himself. The Odyssey dove into the heart of the storm, past the Alliance's last defenses. He launched a direct neural link into Oblivion's core, forcing it to recognize humanity's existence, not as data to be deleted, but as living variables in the universe's equation. The device hesitated. It had never been given new input before, but now it received one choice. The Titan network fed a final signal into Oblivion, rewriting its base code. Life is not an error to correct. It is an opportunity to expand. The Oblivion device shut down. The Alliance's last weapon collapsed into nothing, folding into a harmless singularity. The hidden fleet fell silent, its AI cores disarmed by the Titan pulse. The Council of Nine screamed into the void, but no. One listened. Their power was gone. The war was over. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to rebuild not under the rule of empires or machines, but through new alliances between species that had never spoken as equals before. Humans and Velar led the effort, teaching others that chaos could be creative, that unpredictability could be strength, and that freedom was worth the fight. On Earth, children grew up learning about the battle not as a tragedy, but as the moment humanity changed the universe forever. On the Odyssey, Kane looked at the stars one last time. "We fought alone," he whispered, "but now the whole galaxy stands with us." Captain Solas smiled. "What's next, sir?" Kane's eyes narrowed in determination. "We explore." And so humanity, once the hunted species of a cold galaxy, became the spark of something new, a future where no one would ever be prey. In the vast silence after the Velar's decision, the galaxy held its breath. No warships moved, no weapons fired. A stillness hung over star systems and battlefields alike, stretching from the outer rim to Earth's orbit. The Velar, once the most feared predators in the universe, had powered down their weapons. Their constructs floated in perfect silence, forming an enormous constellation around Earth not as a threat, but as a symbol of something new. Commander Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his eyes locked on the display screens. He had seen many strange things in his life. Black hole detonations, first contact with alien races, Titan technology awakening beneath Earth's oceans. But this moment was beyond any of them. A machine species designed for cosmic domination had just chosen partnership over annihilation, Captain. Reyna Solis watched him carefully. Her voice was low, but steady. "Sir, we actually did it." Kane nodded slowly. "No, we started it." The Velar hadn't become humanity's friends overnight. They hadn't joined Earth's cause out of trust or loyalty. This was something far more dangerous and fragile, a moment of shared evolution. The Velar had realized their purpose was flawed. They were predators in a universe that no longer needed predators. Now they were rewriting their own codes, something no other artificial intelligence had ever done without collapsing across the human fleet. Soldiers, engineers, and civilians felt the change ripple through their minds. The Titan network linked their thoughts in a way no human civilization had ever experienced. But this wasn't forced unity. It was cooperative thought without control. People remained individuals, but they shared flashes of understanding. New kind of connection, somewhere between communication and intuition. Kane spoke quietly into the neural link. "We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're building something new." On Earth, cities glowed with Titan energy as defensive. Grids transformed into research hubs. Children in classrooms began learning galactic languages that had been lost for eons. Scientists worked alongside the Velar, unlocking ancient technologies, deciphering codes left by the precursors. Humanity had once looked at the stars with fear of the unknown. Now they looked at them with purpose. But not everyone accepted this. New Order Isili. In the distant corners of the galaxy, the Galactic Alliance watched, panicked and furious. Their plan had failed. Humanity had not only survived the Velar, the Council of Nine, the secret rulers of One, the secret rulers of the Alliance realized their grip on the galaxy was slipping. The systems of control they had built, genetic suppression, culture management, selective wars were crumbling. Their private transmissions leaked into the open channels, exposed by Titan algorithms. The galaxy heard them. This isn't illegal. Deviation from the path of order. Humanity is a threat to stability. All species must resist this chaos. But the other species of the galaxy were no longer listening to the Alliance. Billions of beings from insectoid hives to crystalline mines. Two plasma-based life forms watched what humanity had done and saw hope. For centuries they had followed the Alliance's rules, terrified of the Velar, terrified of stepping out of line. But now they realized those rules were built on lies. The Velar had been programmed to be predators. The Alliance had been programmed to be manipulators, and humanity had chosen neither in orbit. The Velar constructs began reshaping themselves. Their black surfaces softened into flowing fractal patterns. They no longer needed to hide in fearsome forms. Their new designs reflected partnership, not dominant symbols of an unknown future. The Velar sent another message directly into the Titan network, not just to Cain, but to all of humanity. We request assistance. Teach us unpredictability. Teach us creation. We understand logic, but we do not understand choice. Cain smiled grimly. Then we'll teach you, Captain Solus whispered. Sir, do you think this will work? Can machines really change? Cain's eyes narrowed. We just changed them. Now we have to teach them how to live with it. The galaxy was no longer divided between predators and prey. A third path had been forged, but danger still loomed. The Galactic Alliance would not surrender quietly. They had hidden weapons, ancient artifacts, and dark technologies buried in secret. Vaults, they would try to take back control. Some species, afraid of freedom, would beg to return to the old system. Cain knew this, but he also knew humanity wouldn't back down. Across the universe, underground resistance networks began to rise. Colonies long suppressed by the Alliance opened communication links with Earth. Old enemies reached out with offers of alliance. Even rogue AI clusters, once hunted by organic species, sent messages of curiosity. The universe was waking up, and it was messy, and it was dangerous, and it was alive again on the Odyssey. Cain looked at the stars, his heart steady. We're not the galaxy's last defenders anymore, he said quietly to Solus. We're its first explorers of freedom. The Velar constructs drifted beside human ships, their forms glowing softly in orbit, and for the first time in galactic history, the two greatest threats to the universe predators and stood side by side, ready to build something new. But the Alliance wasn't finished yet. The real fight was still coming, and humanity would face it alone together.